I there,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, we're starting our Parsha class. And this week is also we have a few things going on. It's obviously, of course, Parshas Tetzavah, and also it's the Parshas Zachor, where we read the obligatory reading of Zachor about Amalek. Right, so everyone has to come to shul to listen to the reading of Amalek, which we read at the end of the parsha. And then we also have this is the Shabbos before, which is always what Shabbos Zachar is. It's also the Shabbos before Purim. So is we have a lot
Mhm.
Baruch Hashem going on. So first of all, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achel ni b'dvari.
Amen. Shakami Vivaro.
L'chaim. So Tetzaveh actually
Mhm.
continues with the parsha of Truma, very much connected to Truma, where Truma Tetzaveh and the other parshas as well, Vayakov, Pekudei, a little bit of Kisisa, deal with the building of the instruction from Hashem to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle. V'asili migdash v'shachanti b'sochem, you'll build the tabernacle and I'll rest amongst you. And with that also is the commandment to prepare the Kohanim, the priests, for the service in the tabernacle, and that's really the focus in this week's parsha. This week's parsha focuses on um, that's that Jeremiah. This week's parsha focuses on the preparation of hey Jeremy of getting the priests ready for the service. Now, obviously, in the time of the Mishkan, there were the priest was just a family. Hey Jeremy was just a family of four people. I mean, five people. There were the four sons of Aaron and Aaron a Cohen. Jeremy, if you don't mind, I'm gonna put you on mute. There's a little sound coming over, and then if you want to unmute, just unmute yourself. It's fine. So there's Aaron Cohen was the high priest, and he had four sons. He had Nadav and Avihu, Elazar and Isamar. At that time, he still had four sons, and those were the Kohanim, seemingly in the beginning. Means we don't know. The Torah doesn't tell us about any other children. We know clearly the Torah tells us, and the Chazal teach us that the elder two sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, did not get married and did not have children. That's one of the reasons why they were punished. Later, we learn about their punishment. They were killed on the day of the dedication of the tabernacle. That a fire came down and consumed them. Also because they did a sacrifice that was not required and it wasn't something they should have been doing. They got ahead of themselves. They got a little too excited in the service. But clearly, from the Talmud, it's clearly they did not get married, so they were single, so they didn't have children. And Elazar in the summer, Elazar definitely had children. In the summer, we know later in history has descendants that are the high priests, but we don't learn about them having any children that were part of the service. And Pinchas is only one. Pinchas is only the one that comes later, and he joins his father at the end of Bamidbar, towards the end of the Jewish people's time in the desert. That he becomes also a Kohen. So at the time of what we're learning about in this week's parsha, we have Aaron and his four sons. And that's the team of service. Today, I'm a Levite. So in Israel, in Eretz Yisrael, the priests, the Kohanim, bless the Jewish people at every single prayer of the morning prayer. In Shul on Shabbos, they will bless the Jewish people on the Shachris and the Musaf, and during the week, they'll bless on the Shachris, unless of course it's Rosh Chodesh or Chol Hamoed, where they bless whenever means they bless the first tefillah is when we have the priestly blessings. The priests don't bless on mincha because of they may have had some wine. You're not allowed to drink wine and bless. So I'm a Levite. I wash the hands of the kohanim, and the numbers don't add up. It's very likely, and many times, where I'm the only Levite washing 5, 10, 15 Kohanim's hands. So the numbers don't make sense because at the time of the desert, the Kohanim were four people, one family, and the Levites were, 20,000 or so what we count, Reb Shimon. So either way, but that's just a side point. But this week we learned about the preparation of the Kohanim for the service of the tabernacle. And the Kohanim remained, that was their job, remained till today. They are the Kohanim, they're the priests that when Mashiach is going to come, the priests, I mean, according to, depending how we're going to see it with Arizal, but these are the priests that are going to be the service of the Holy Temple. And so it started all the way back in this week's Parsha. And we learn about the various fabulous clothing of the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol had the various clothing that represented different types of service and different type of atonements, atoning for different sins. The job of the Kohen was that he was in between the Jewish people and HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the service of the temple to prepare the temple to sacrifice on behalf of the people, and whether the sacrifice is a peace offering or a donation, a nidava, but primarily they were dealing with sin offerings or offerings of forgiveness or offerings of atonement. And so not only did Aaron HaKohen offer sacrifices that were for the atonement of the Jewish people, but most of his clothing that he wore, as Rashi explains, each one of those clothing had kind of dealt with issues, whether it is forgetfulness, whether it is overzealous, or different ideas where the Kohen is going to find atonement for different things of the Jewish people. And that was his job. And he had Shmonim Begadim, he had eight fabulous garments, and we have the ephod and the choshen, the breastplate that had on it the stones. We had the shoulders of the ephod that had the other stones, the Avnei Shoam, and we have the me'il, which had the bells on it. And it just the royalty of the high priest was amazing. And he had the tzitz, the special plate, forehead plate that had Kodesh LaHashem, to deal with forgetfulness that we'll get to in a second. So we learn about these all the fabulous garments of the high priest. We have the belt. This, we talked about this before, that according to the Rambam, the belt on the Kohen Gadol was wrapped. I think it was 32 lev. It was 32 amos long. The amma is about, let's be kind. Let's say amma is 18 inches. So it's 32 amos long, and each amma is, let's say, 18 inches. And if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere, and one of this that's brought down, that he wrapped it 33 times, which meant that the waist of the Kohen Gadol was very thin. I guess maybe Aaron, maybe afterwards they kind of, because we definitely find there's certain high priests that weren't as thin. But either way, the high priest, everything was a beged, everything was a garment. And so much so, the Rambam is of the opinion, Maimonides is of the opinion, that a Kohen is a Kohen as long as he's wearing his garments. A Kohen wears his garments, then he's a Kohen, avodas. And actually the Kohen's garments, interesting enough, were like tzitzis, meaning to say that they were able to override the violation of mixing linens and wool, because that's why it was questionable if they were able to wear their begadim, their garments, not during service, because the garments themselves were shotness. They were a mixture of linen and wool. There's machlokas between the Ravid and the Rambam if they were only able to wear their garments during avodah, during service, or as long as they were in the temple itself elevated out of that space of the violation, so to say, of the mixing of the materials. And there's a whole Rabbi Bechaya trying to explain what is the idea of shotness and why the Beis Hamikdash is a place, Oisei Shalom B'Mraimov, that it makes such peace that even wool and linen that don't get along. And how do we know wool and linen don't get along? Because Cain and Hevel, right? They're two sons of Adam, first man. When they sacrificed, one sacrificed from the land, that was Cain, and that was linen, and it's brought down. And Hevel sacrificed the sheep, which was the wool. So just like Cain and Hevel, their sacrifices didn't mix. So too, ever since then, that's the Rabbeinu Bechaya says that's the yesod. That's really the foundation of the prohibition of mixing wool and linen. So therefore, the idea of wool and linen is the idea of machlokes, idea of disagreement. And the Beis Hamikdash is Osa Shalom B'Mraimov. It elevates beyond the machlokes. So according to, again, there's different shitas of if it's a problem of mixing bad and good, or two goods. Even sometimes two goods are not good, are not to be mixed. That's why we know that we don't cross our fingers, because crossing our fingers represents The right hand is chesed and the left hand is gvura. So you're not supposed to cross your fingers. But in the Beis Hamikdash, it was also shalom v'imraimov. It elevated the people to peace, where there was no disagreement between the right and the left, between kindness and severity, and therefore there was able to be on the begadim, on the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, like in tzitzis, they were able to have shatnez, which means literally the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, of the Kohanim, were clothing that you couldn't wear outside the temple because they were a mixture of linen and wool. But the Beis Hamikdash was a place of peace. It was a makom of peace, because where Hashem rests, God only rests where there's a place of completion and a place of peace, right? And so this is really the topic of this week's Parsha, is getting the Kohanim ready for the service. Now, what does this have to do with Purim, Shabbos, Zachar? So there's a few ideas. Number one is, first of all, I want to say l'chaim. Today is a little bit of a farbrengen. Why is it a farbrengen? Because tonight, I'm assuming it's already dark where you guys are in Seattle. It's already 7 o'clock. I'm assuming it's already Tes Adar. Tes Adar is the day the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe came to the United States. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, for the natural reasons of why, the Teva reasons of why the Lubavitcher Rebbe came to L'chaim. The Teva reasons why the Lubavitcher Rebbe came to America was he was running away from Nazi Germany. And the Nazis were taking over all of Europe, and Friedrich Rebbe was in Europe, so he made it on one of the last ships back to the United States. My grandfather, my father's father, was also sent on the boat before the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The previous Rebbe came Tes Adar, so Tes Adar obviously is right before Purim and right before Pesach. My grandfather used to talk about the first Pesach when the previous Rebbe was in America. He spent that Pesach in Lakewood. It was not the Lakewood of today. Lakewood was a city. He got a special house that someone gave him. And the previous Rebbe was able to have rachava, able to celebrate the holiday of redemption in a redeemed way. And he felt himself redeemed. But when the Rebbe would talk about the Friedrich Rebbe coming to America, it wasn't just the Friedrich Rebbe was running away from Europe. In shtetl, or in Jewish talk, America was considered Chatzi Kader Tachton, right? So the world is a globe. What's the top of a globe and what's the bottom of the globe? So most people today, we look at the top and the bottom of the globe, where there's the north on the top and the south is on the bottom. That's how most people have their globes, right? So the United States and the Antarctica is and the North Pole is the top. And then you have, South America, South Africa, Africa, and the South Pole on the bottom. That's how we look at the bottom and the top. But in Torah, you didn't look at it that way. The top of the world was Yerushalayim. So that's the west. That's the east. And the bottom of the world was the west. So when they said Chatzi Kader Tachton, the bottom half of the world was referring to the United States and the new world, like we call it. And the Rebbe always used to say that the Torah was not in Chatzi Kader Tachton. Matan Torah that we just learned about was in our side, was on my side of the world, here in the east, right? We're now talking. Well, I'm in Chatzi Kader Elyon, and you guys are in Chatzi Kader Tachton. So up until the last few hundred years, Yiddishkeit and Torah was on the top part of the Kader. But in order for Mashiach to come, the Rebbe always spoke, in order for Mashiach to come, the whole world has to be of a shachanti b'socham. The whole world has to be like a mishkan for Hashem. You can't have half the world that has no idea of Torah mitzvahs, especially no idea of Chassidus, no ideas of Fatzis Mayanas Chutza, no ideas of the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe and the Tanya. Right? So how do we? So in order for Mashiach to come, Torah had to go to Chatzi Kader Tachton. And not just that the headquarters of the Nasi Hador, of the leader of the generation, where Chassidus was said and Farbrengens were said, and where our Rebbe led us, his entire career as Rebbe was in the Chatzi Kader Tachton. And what's the day when Torah moved from the top to the bottom? Was when the Friedrich Rebbe came to America. That's how the Rebbe taught us, and that's how it was. So this is today. Tes Adar is a very auspicious day, because it's a big day in the final steps for Mashiach. Because in order for in order for the wellsprings of Chassidus to really take over the whole world, it started when the previous Rebbe came to America, not just to visit but to settle. He visited before a few times, but there was shluchim before. He wasn't the first Chassid. The Friedrich Rebbe wasn't the first Chassid to move to the United States. It was the first Rebbe. the Nasi to come to the United States. Could be there was rabbis that came before, but the first Nasi that came to the Chatzi Kadir Tachnun, bringing Chassidus and Tarisa Chassidus and the Mamorim and Yeshiva Tam Chatamimim. So that is a step further in the coming of Mashiach. So today, when we're looking now in 2026, so many years later, this was in the 1940s, right? So Pinchas is going to help us with, I think, 86 years, right? So 86 years from today is when the previous Rebbe came to, if I'm not mistaken, right? 86. So the Friedrich Rebbe came to not 86, sorry, 2026 is 40, is 66 years. No, am I making my math off? No, it's 86 years. So it's 40 is 60, 86 years. 86 years from the previous Rebbe came to the United States. 86 is a big number also in Torah. So it's when you have the 86, you have the 86 years since previous Rebbe came. This is an auspicious day today for Mashiach to come, because this is when it started the next stage of Yafutza V'Nisecha Chutza, of this wellspring of Chassidus spreading it to the whole world, as it came to the other side of the world, to the Chatzi Kadir Tachnun. And this is all very much connected to our this week's Parsha, V'Shachanti B'Sochem, of building a tabernacle. So l'chaim for that, for this Farbrengen, for the previous Rebbe coming to America, and for the continuation of the Gilum Mashiach l'chaim.
Okay.
So the beginning of the Parsha starts with the laws of the menorah. It says that Hashem says V'ata Tezavah b'nei Yisrael, that you, Moshe, God is speaking to Moshe. This is the only Parsha that Moshe's name is not mentioned, because Moshe, it's interesting. In next week, unfortunately, we're going to read about the building of the golden calf. And there's machlokes, there's an argument, if Moshe Rabbeinu was told about the Mishkan before the building of the golden calf or afterwards. We know clearly the Mishkan was a kapara, an atonement. By building the Mishkan was how we rectified the sin of the golden calf. But the question was, when did Moshe, because according to the order of the Parsha, God tells Moshe about the menorah, about the Mishkan, in last week's Parsha and this week's Parsha. Only next week's Parsha is the building of the golden calf. So seemingly the Mishkan is before the story of the golden calf. So there's machlokes. If he actually told it to him before, or the Torah just tells us before, if the Torah is in order, or even if he told it to me before, but it ended up being a kapara for, it's an atonement for the golden calf. It means the same gold that they used for building an avodas zarah, building an idol, is now we build it for Hashem, a Mishkan. And through the Mishkan became a kapara. That's why the Jewish people were very nervous and anxious to see that Hashem's presence in Parshat Shmini comes down to the Mishkan when they dedicate the Mishkan to show a sign. And Aaron was nervous. Everyone was nervous. It says Aaron said to Moshe, what's going on? Hashem's angry at me because of the golden calf, because this Hashem's presence coming down to the Mishkan was a sign of his forgiveness of the golden calf. So, and when the Jewish people built the golden calf, and God initially says He's going to wipe the Jewish people off, and He's going to start all new with Moshe. Moshe said, "I don't want to have to do with this idea. Don't take me out of your Torah. I'm not part of your story of you destroying the Jewish people. You know, if you're going to destroy the Jewish people, then erase my name from your Torah. I don't want to be part of the story." So, although that Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem forgave the Jewish people, and Moshe Rabbeinu's name is mentioned many times in Torah, but because he said, "Erase me from the Torah," so this week's parsha does not have Moshe's name. If you take the parsha from the beginning till the end and you go through every single word, you will not see Moshe Rabbeinu's name mentioned in this week's parsha. And it's the only parsha from when Moshe is born, which is Shemais, until the end that doesn't have his name. But it has everything's about Moshe. The whole parsha is God talking to Moshe, but it doesn't say his name. It's Va'ata, you, Tetzavah b'nei Yisrael, you have to command the Jewish people. The Jewish people have to bring to Moshe the olive oil for the menorah. And the idea of bringing Moshe the olive oil for the menorah, like we learned many times, is that we have to bring the oil is something that comes out, kasis lamar. When you crush an olive, right? That's how you get out the oil from the olive. And you know, we have grapes and we have olive oils, and both of them are important liquids. In the Beis Hamikdash, we had oil and we had yayin, right? We had nisach yayin. They would pour the oil, and they had the luk shemen that would give on the sacrifices. Both of them come out of pressing, right? Grapes, in a grape is holding the wine, and in the olive is holding the olive oil. The difference is, in order to get the liquid out of the grape, it's much easier. You could just squeeze it easily, and you squeeze out the liquids. But for olive oil, you have to really crush the olive to get the oil out. You have a special press to press it out. So the olive oil, when is talking about a deep something deep inside of a person, Yain is really his ideas. It's like, nichnas yain, it's a sud. It's ideas that are deep in a person. But the shem and the oil is the essence of the person. And the essence of the person, sometimes it only comes out if you're going through a situation of being crushed. Sometimes the only way to get to your essence is if you go through, the Rebbe says, sometimes only through difficult times. A person goes through difficult times, challenges in their life, like an oil that gets crushed. So that's how you bring out the oil. Sometimes hard times makes a person focused. But so the Rebbe says, but what defines hard times is up to you. A person could define hard times as things that are upsetting to you, but physical things, or challenges, or in parnasa, in earning a living and finding marriage, other things that you decide that you've made as things that make you happy or not, and things that are difficult. And no one's saying they're not difficult. There's a lot of difficult things, and there's times the Jewish people as a nation went through difficult times, like the story of Purim. The story of Purim, the Jewish people were going to be annihilated. That was very scary times. I was actually thinking about it yesterday when I was thinking about Purim. That Purim, you have to remember, there was nowhere for the Jews to go. Today, in the war, like we talk about, the Friedrich Rebbe came to America. Even during the war, even during the Holocaust, where Hitler actually killed 6 million Jews, but there was an idea. There was a place to run. You could run to some people were able to make it to Eretz Yisrael, but most people were able to run to the free countries, whether it was England or all the way to the United States or other countries in Canada, South America. But there were places to go. The question is if you could get there. 6 million didn't get there. And the countless others that were taken to concentration camps that survived didn't get there. But there was at least a place to go. During Purim, there was nowhere to go. Where are you going to go? Achashverosh was the king of the whole world. And he sent his decrees to the whole world. There was no place for a Jew to go. The Gemara only tells us that the people who lived in the walled cities were a little bit more safe than the people that lived in the unwalled cities. Because the unwalled cities, they were mamish vulnerable. Anyone could come and kill them. Any one of the bandits could come. Walled cities, maybe they would be a little bit more protected. But how protected were they? It was a decree from the king that anyone could kill them. So the people in the walled cities could kill them. They weren't the majority of the cities. Maybe you could say some cities in Eretz Yisrael that were walled were maybe a little bit more protected. But in theory, there was no place for the Jews to go. The question, that's what they say, they celebrate the 15th or the 14th, different kind of celebrations. They say the people of the 14th celebrated Purim with a stronger energy because they were more vulnerable. But there was no safe place to hide for the Jewish people. Imagine that. Imagine there's no visa to go try to get, there's no passport, there's nowhere to go. Anywhere in the world is under Achashverosh's rule. And he sent an edict to every single country. Medina, every country, according to their writing, according to their narrative, whatever speaks to them, whatever language speaks to them, you can speak to the right. We hear today anti-Semitism. You hear it from the left, you hear it from the right. Doesn't make a difference what the language is. That's kol shaynim kichsavim, right? What does the Megillah mean that according to their language and their writings? Anti-Semitism is a yisoid. So to the left person, you tell it to him in the left, and to the right person, you tell it to him in the right. But it's all the same Amalek, the same idea. It killed the Jewish people. That's what Achashverosh did. In Hodu, he wrote in the language of Hodu, and in Kush, he wrote in the language of Kush. But the Jewish people had nowhere to go. So that's kosis. You're crushed. You're crushed because you have and then the people brought out the oil. They had Mesiras Nefesh. And not just Mesiras Nefesh for a second. The Jewish people in the time of the Megillah had Mesiras Nefesh for a full year. The full season. All the seasons means when you have time, I think good, as time passes, sometimes Mesiras Nefesh is a momentary thing, right? You can put on the spot. Here, day in and day out, Mordechai had to sit there and tell the Jewish people, be strong, learn Torah, have faith, have bitachon, daven to Hashem, we'll break this gezerah. Utzu Esav V'Sufar, right? And the Jewish people took a lot of Mesiras Nefesh. That's the oil. That's kosis. Crushed. The Jewish people in communist Russia, that's kosis. They couldn't do Torah mitzvahs. The Jewish people in Spain that were hiding for hundreds of years their identity, they couldn't do Torah mitzvahs. So that's kosis lamor. They had to be crushed. When they were crushed, came out the oil. But the Rebbe says you don't have to, you could decide what crushes you. Hi, Dr. Susan. Maybe what crushes you is the Mashiach's not here. You wake up, no one wants to hurt you. No one's stopping you from performing Torah mitzvahs. You could put on tefillin every morning, no one's going to stop you. And you could learn Torah every morning, no one's going to stop you. And you could keep kosher, no one's going to stop you. And you could keep Shabbos, no one's going to stop you. But you're crushed because Mashiach's not here. And what does it mean Mashiach's not here? Where's the Mishkan? Where's the Beis HaMikdash? Where's Moshe Rabbeinu? Why are people still not friendly to each other? Why is there still hate in the world? Why is there still darkness in the world? Where's the light? Where's the or? Why aren't people seeing? Today we start chapter 30? Today, I mean Thursday. We start on Tes Adar. We start reading chapter Lev, the chapter of the heart of Tanya. The chapter of the heart of Tanya is about Avos Yisrael. Nafsham Ika V'Gufam Tafel. It's not about your body, because when it's about your body, it's about things you want. You can't really become B'Chenu Avinu Kulanu Ka'echad. The real way to connect to a fellow Jew is through Nafsham Ika, when you realize that the main thing, who are you? You're your soul. And when a person realizes that maybe that's not revealed in their life, that their soul is the primary, and the secondary is the body and the Nefesh Bahamas, so that's darkness. That's not Mashiach. That's Golus. Why isn't the light coming out? And that could crush a person also. And when we do that, when we have the causes, it doesn't have to be for the bad things. It means the things that are bothering us. It could be things that where's the Torah mitzvahs? Why am I not finding enough time to learn Torah? Why am I not finding enough time to have Avos Yisrael? Why am I not having enough time? Why am I not going to shul enough? Why am I putting on tefillin every day? So when that crushes you, and then you bring that oil to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu wants to reveal our inner emunah, our inner belief, our inner connection to Hashem. And this brings us to Parsha Zachar. Parsha Zachar is about Amalek. Amalek is our sworn enemy. And Amalek is around us and in us. Amalek's job is to stop your excitement about Hashem and to stop any kind of involvement of Hashem. He's not here to. The Alter Rebbe writes in the Torah Or that there's the voice of Paro and the voice of Amalek. They're not the same voice. What does Paro tell Moshe Rabbeinu? I don't know God. You're telling me God said to let the Jewish people out and there's going to be a Matan Torah? I don't know what you're talking about. I never heard of such a thing. I know that the God created the world, and there's the Shem Elokim. And the Shem Elokim is how God how the world runs through Teva, through nature. And there's the laws of nature. And like we spoke many times, Parah says, I'm the king. You're the slaves. And that's how it's going to stay. Because that's the laws of nature. The laws of nature is if I'm in charge, I call the rules. I say when you leave or if you're leaving. Don't tell me there's a higher power that says that you have to leave because you have to serve him. I don't recognize that power. I don't know what you're talking about. But the Alter Rebbe says that had Parah been able to understand the idea of Havaya, that there is Hashem, maybe he would have let the Jewish people out. Hashem hardened his heart not to be able to understand it as a punishment. But he wasn't coming to say that, he said, I don't know what you're talking about. Moshe Rabbeinu is coming with the story that there's a higher power. It's not just about the way Hashem, yes, there's a creator, there's a world's functioning, but there's a purpose to the world. Hashem didn't just create the world so the world should exist. The purpose is that there should be Gilui Elikus, that there should be revealed godliness in the world. So Moshe says, what does it mean to reveal godliness in the world? We have to have Matan Torah. We need to go to the mountain. We need to serve God. And Parah says, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I never heard of such a thing. Amalek doesn't say, I never heard of such a thing. Amalek is our family. Amalek is our cousins. They're like the Rebbe used to say, Yitzchak's an Enokel, Yitzchak's grandson. Amalek is the son of Esav. Esav is the son of Yitzchak. He's our family. And he says, of course I heard of Hashem. Who cares? Amalek comes and tells the person, I hear what you're saying. I hear there's a God. I hear you. It's very nice, and you understand it all in your head. Why are you acting on it? Why are you getting excited about it? Why are you changing life? Why are you committing yourself to it? And he'll hit you on every single level of advancement because it's about results. So for one person, it's going to be, so you know there's a God. Why should you keep Shabbos? So you know there's a God. Why should you wake up and go to shul on Shabbos and hear Shabbos Zachar? So you know there's a God. Why are you putting on tefillin? I'm not saying there's no God. Let there be a God, but who says you have to put on tefillin? Who says you have to listen to him? Who says why can't you just do what you want to do? What's this idea about who decided that your mission is to bring light in the world? Why is your mission not just to sit in your bed and watch Netflix? I mean, you could do whatever you want. So what? Amalek says, so what? So there's Mamash, he says, he knows about God, and intentionally wants to rebel against him. And on a higher level, he say, well, who says you have to go have Avos Yisrael? And who says you have to learn Chassidus? And who says that you could be a Jew? Anything you want to advance. He says, you want to be a Jew? Be a Jew. You want to put on film? Be a film. You want to keep Shabbos? Who says you have to learn Chassidus? Who says you have to go to Farbrengen? Who says you have to have extra Avos Yisrael? Who says you have to care about another person? He pushes, no matter what you're trying to do, in your life to make your life a little bit more Jewish, a little bit more or, a little bit more of that oil to reveal, he says, what are you talking about? It's not necessary. It's not required. We know there's a God, I hear what he's saying, who says, it's better just to go to shul, daven, and then go back home and go to work, and just to forget about any kind of getting involved. Who says you have to be a community person? Who says you have to give shachman? He doesn't want you to be excited about Yiddishkeit. He doesn't want you to wake up in the morning and say, "Oi, how can I serve Hashem? Today's going to be Mashiach is going to come." Why are you screaming at Masai for? Who says Mashiach has to come? The world is existing for 5,786 years without Mashiach. Mashiach doesn't have to wait another 5,786. I think Gemara says 6,000 years is the world. So what? We'll worry about it when 6,000 years come. Who says you have to be excited about Mashiach? Who says you have to wake up in the morning and say, how can I bring me yefutza? Whatever the thing is that you're trying to do in Yiddishkeit, the Amalek comes. And he stands there. And when comes Parsha Zachar, and we have a Parsha of the garments of the Kohen Gadol, we have the Parsha of the tzitz that reminds us of what Amalek wants to do. And we have, it's on the forehead, which is where our reminder, where we remember things. And when we have the Parsha of Parshat Tezavah, Moshe Rabbeinu connects us to be able to find our inner oil. And that oil doesn't have to be crushed from negative things, to be crushed from not enough positive. Where's Mashiach? And Amalek says, what are you getting so excited for? Why is that bothering you so much? So it comes this week and we say, Zecher Timcha Amalek. Amalek needs to go. I want you out of stop talking to me. I won't subscribe. I won't listen to you. You're not a voice that I'm going to reckon with. The Torah told me, and Moshe Rabbeinu is my Rebbe, and he says that you have to go. And this week's parsha, we learned that when they wanted to build the Beis Hamikdash, Shaul HaMelech had to go kill Amalek. After they had a melech who had the power to kill Amalek, Shmuel says you have to kill Amalek before you build the Beis Hamikdash. The Rambam says there are 3 commandments they had to do when they came to Eretz Yisrael. They have to make a king, get rid of Amalek, and build a Beis Hamikdash. And you can't build a Beis Hamikdash as long as Amalek is standing there in your shoulder, on your back. Amalek is from the word malika, from the back of your neck, trying to disconnect you from your head, from your heart, that what you understand you shouldn't feel. So with Chaim, everyone, comes Parsha Zachar. I mean, it's Parsha, and today, and this week was the birthday of Moshe Rabbeinu. And today is Tes Adar, where we continue with the Chatzi Kadar Tachnon, bringing the lights and the well springs of Chassidus. And we're 86 years. 86 is a big number, Shem Elikim. It's time for all the concealments, everything that's been concealed. Now it's time. Today is mamish, an auspicious day for Mashiach Tzidkenu to come, and we should celebrate together here in the Beis Hamikdash, here in Yerushalayim, in HaKodesh, and we're going to eradicate Amalek. I actually heard, I have a friend who's Mr. Positive, always the positive. So I said to him that in Torah it says that Amalek gets totally eradicated. But my friend says, no, I saw somewhere the Rebbe says that Amalek eradicated means that even Amalek gets transformed. Even Amalek gets transformed. That's why we say that the sons of Haman, the descendants of Haman learn Torah in Bnei Brak. But that also could happen as long as we have peace, like the Perek Lamed Beis, peace and obviously Yisrael and Ava in the whole world, love and light and positive and kindness, and through that we have or, and then we have simcha, and we have happiness and joy, and this joy continues and continues. Marbim b'simcha b'mheir b'yemenu. Good Shabbos, everyone. Afreilach Purim. I don't believe we'll have next week because of Purim. We'll see if we're going to have a class. L'chaim, everyone. Have a wonderful Purim. Make sure, Matthew's not here. Make sure to go to shul this Shabbos. Make sure to go to shul to listen to Shabbos Zachar. L'chaim, everyone. L'chaim. Thank you.
L'chaim.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Welcome. Good night. Take care.